Hello everyone and welcome back. We are picking up right where we left off. In the last video we went out to track day. We had fuel delivery issues and we are still having problems even now. I have tried every manner of fuel pump I have hand on this thing and none of them seem to work right. I've got the Delphi pump on here at the moment. I've pulled the filters out and the car is running better. So that is telling me definitively we have a fuel delivery issue. Now, I've tried the Carter kind of OEM replacement. It is just blowing past the needle and seat. So I'm going to get this thing in the garage, strip it apart, probably order up some more parts, maybe see if I can play around and figure something out. But we have got to get to the bottom of this issue. So let's just get to it. All right, so we're back at the workbench here once again. It's now Tuesday, Sunday night. Ran and ordered a bunch of parts here. We're going to see just how many fuel pumps it takes to actually make a 402 run correctly, apparently. So, got another Carter pump here. This one should be 120 gallons per hour at 5 to 6 psi. Got a trick flow pressure regulator that should work between, I think it's 4.5 to 9 pounds, somewhere along that. Got a pressure gauge to go along with it so we can actually see what's happening. We got this nice Howard Cams push rod here, extremely lightweight. I think it's a carbon composite of some kind. These things are really nice. They're self-lubricating. They do not wear on cam lobes, so you can pretty much run this with any kind of cam setup you're running with. So if we go with the roller setup later on in the L78, this will work perfect for that. So let's see what we got here. This should be an adjustable base on this carburetor here, meaning you can clock it in any direction, and that appears to be the case. This should also be rebuildable, which is nice compared to some of the others we got. Yeah, that should do it here. Just need to get some fittings, get this thing slapped in there. I'm gonna have to make a new line now since this is not gonna work with our factory style line, but that shouldn't be a problem. Comes with some gaskets there again. Got a stack of those now, so let's go ahead, get this thing slapped in there and see how it goes. So I've got the fuel pump here clocked the way I want it. I've got the inlet facing forward towards the front of the car. Got the outlet here in about the same location as it was on the other pumps, but fortunately I don't have a straight double flare fitting here. I've only got this 90 degree. Otherwise I probably could have reused the original factory line, but I'm just going to go ahead and create a new one. The one that's on the car currently has been pretty beat up. The fittings on it are definitely not the greatest. They've seen some better days. They're nearly completely round, so might as well just create a new one here. And for that, I'm going to use this nice, easy to work with copper nickel line. Now, this is not pure copper. Pure copper likes to crack after it vibrates for a while. The nickel in this helps avoid that. Really easy to work with, bends really nicely, and the best part is you can use these crappy flaring kits that you get at the parts stores to actually flare this stuff. And if you're trying to use these things on steel or stainless, you are in for a bad time. But on this copper nickel, it works out perfectly for that. So I'm going to start here with just the one end, get this one all flared up in there, and then I can just kind of route this down behind water pump and alternator, all that fun stuff, get it plugged in there, and then kind of work on the rest of it from the top of the car. So I'm going to go ahead, get that flared up, get this installed, and we'll just keep trucking here. So after just a little bit of struggle, this is what you should end up with. A nice double flare on the end there. Your fitting facing the proper way and actually on the line before you did your flare. Don't forget, it is really easy to get those two things wrong. Done it many times, and you have to cut off your nice flare, which it's not easy to do with these off-the-shelf tools, and then do it all over again. I mean, it's good practice, but it's just not fun. Even though this nickel copper line here is much easier to work with than steel or stainless, it is still a bear using those just off-the-shelf tools. Highly recommend, if you're going to be doing this often, to just grab the hydraulic ones off Amazon. I keep telling myself I'm going to get them, but then I always forget, so we are doing this on the cheap. But this done, I can go ahead and get that fuel pump installed in there, and we can start figuring out how to route this line. I've got everything assembled here underneath the hood. Got that Carter pump installed. If anyone was wondering, that is one of their Super Series pumps. I believe it's rated at 120 gallons per hour at 5 to 6 psi, so it should be perfect for this Quadrajet here. I think they have a couple of different ones. Some are a little bit more high pressure. If you noticed, I ended up going with the aluminum line instead of the copper and nickel that I was playing with earlier. I was trying to route it down behind the water pump there along where the factory line would go, and just too tight through there, and I was just mangling it up trying to get it bent right. So just kind of scrapped that. I had a bunch of this spare aluminum stuff, so just ran that sort of up and over the alternator. As you can see, not the prettiest thing in the world, but it'll work for what we need it to do. So gonna go ahead, see if I can get this thing to fire up here, see if she'll idle for us, see if it blows past the needle and seat, or hopefully we get lucky and everything's good, and check for leaks. And if all is good, we'll go ahead and hit the road and see if this has cured our problem. So I got her fired up here and everything seems to be good so far. Not seeing any leaks, any issues up top here. Don't see any issues down below as well. It is really cold here, so it's not liking this low idle at the moment, but other than that, it seems to be doing good. So I'm going to go ahead, pull it out, and let it warm up a little bit, and we'll go for a ride. All right, let's go. up any banging noise. That's what's going on back there. Shifting early like that, but it is not cutting out on us at all. It seems to be pulling a little bit cleanly. Maybe running just a touch rich based on the smell that I get. Couldn't really notice any black smoke out of the back of the car. One of the nice things is I really haven't noticed any smoke out of the back of the car as of late. Definitely gets it on cold starts. So the valve seals are probably on their way out, just letting oil pass when it sits, but once it's up and going, really not noticing any of the smoke like it was before. So yeah, I might just go drive around a little bit, go grab some coffee, see if I can how she behaves. The car drove absolutely beautiful on those test drives there, had no starvation problems at all. It just stayed going as long as you stayed in it. So this fuel pump has made significant strides into taking care of whatever that issue was. Hopefully it is gone for good. But that now allows us to come back and do a little bit more tweaking, see if we can get just a little bit more out of this thing. Now when I set the timing, I was a bit conservative. I just set it at about 12 degrees static. And the Summit HEI should give us about 20 degrees of mechanical advance in addition. So we're somewhere probably only around 32 degrees all in, where these big blocks typically tend to like to be around 35, 36 degrees. So we can probably add a couple more degrees of timing, see how it does with that. So as you can see, I've got the timing light out here. I'm going to go ahead and let this thing warm up again, adjust on that, dial it in so our all in is right around that 36 degree mark. Then I'm going to go underneath the car and adjust on that vacuum modulator. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to delay the part throttle shifts just a little bit more. It seems like it wants to drop gears really quickly on this thing. Feels like as soon as we're rolling, it's just dropping down in the second. I'd like it to stay in first gear just a little bit longer before it starts shifting through those. It's not going to help with our wide open throttle since that's primarily done through the governor and the kickdown switch. I may go ahead and check on that kickdown switch as well, which is located on the actual throttle pedal assembly. See if that's just engaging at the very, very end of wide open. See if I can maybe adjust it so it engages maybe a little bit earlier. Something like that. See if that'll help us ever so slightly. But otherwise, I would need to pick up the governor kind of tuning kit, which comes with different springs and different weights. But also, there's different gears that drive the actual governor itself, and that might come into play since it does seem like someone changed the rear end in this thing from a 330 to a 355. All of my calculations based on our speed, RPM, using the GPS data is showing that we're running with a 355 in this thing. So I'm not sure if that would make a huge difference in the way that the governor operates without actually getting in there and changing the gears to kind of compensate for that. But that may be part of why it's shifting a little sooner than it should be at the wide open throttle section. But the governor tuning there is certainly a bit of a black magic, a bit of voodoo to me. But we'll at least try to get that modulator dialed in, which will help our part throttle quite a bit. So I'm going to try to take care of those things here right quick. Then we'll go out for another test drive. I'll get the new microphone set up going here, and we'll just let this car sing. So I was able to bump up my initial timing here all the way up to about 17 degrees. This is giving me 36 degrees all in, right around 2950 RPM. So that should be just fine. Tested it all the way up to about 5,000. It's staying nice and flat at 36 degrees. Gonna go ahead and lock the distributor in and we should be good. So back here up underneath the car, we've got our vacuum modulator here. Now I have gone ahead and replaced this earlier on, and it's an adjustable type, which means that when you pop your hose off here, there's a little set screw right there inside the little vacuum nipple that you can adjust that determines the shift points. Now this only impacts part throttle shift points. So you can screw this in and tighten it up. That'll delay them a little bit, or you can turn it the other way, soften it up, and that'll make it shift earlier. So I'm going to try to put about 3/4 of a turn into this guy, see if that helps us any. Now unfortunately I'd let the car warm up when I was doing the timing there, so this is fun and exciting to be doing here. Okay, so that feels about like a half. Okay, so about 3/4. Go ahead and get our hose hooked back up there. All right, we should be good to go. All right, so I got a couple more degrees of timing in here, got that modulator adjusted, see if it makes any kind of difference. Like really light load there, it shifted into third, probably around like 30 miles per hour, which is a bit of an improvement from where it was before. It would have been down around like 25 or so, just coming up that hill kind of ignition knocking or nothing like that, so we should be good there for this timing. Which is definitely not the fastest. So this is a 72 motor in this. It's a little bit detuned compared to what the 70s had. The 70s would have been rated at that 350, and then in 71 they changed, of course, how they calculated the horsepower. But I believe they also dropped compression ever so slightly. And it was rated at like 300 horsepower by the old standards, and somewhere in the 270 range, I think, by the newer standards. So she definitely doesn't feel like a slouch, but she's also not the fastest thing I've got, but she's still got something left to her. So definitely a lot better than she's been. I've done enough jabbering. I'm just going to let the old car here speak for herself a bit. The Chevelle has made it back home. It drove beautifully on that test drive. No starvation issues of any kind. It seems like we got that dialed in. It only took us 4 fuel pumps to do it. It really seemed to like those timing changes. That little bit of tweak there on the modulator really helped at those shift points. It is doing really good. Now it's very unfortunate it took us this long to get this thing finally dialed in. I really would have liked to be able to send it down the track just once under full power to see what she had left in her, but maybe we'll be able to find a dyno nearby, get this thing on there, do a couple of pulls and just see what she can do. See what this 402's got left in it. But that's going to do it this week here for the old Chevelle. Still a lot more to come on this thing. There is a lot of rust repair to get started on. A couple of other quality of life changes to do as well. So there will still be a lot more Chevelle content coming your way. Once again, thank you all for watching, leaving the comments. I'll catch you on the next one.